Hi, I'm Keiko from English-Empowered. In the last lesson, we talked about directing your audience's attention to your visual aids. Today, I decided to talk about some common mistakes English learners tend to make when describing their charts and graphs. The tips I'm going to share with you today are super important if you want to use visual aids effectively in your presentations. Even if you have prepared beautiful graphs and charts, and even if you know natural mama phrases, your presentation will not be effective if you don't follow these tips. So buckle up and let's get started. Common mistake number one people make when using visual aids is not describe their chart. Some people just show their chart to their audience and don't really explain it. They sort of expect the audience to understand what you want to tell them. But each member of your audience comes from different backgrounds. If there are 100 people in the room, there are 100 different interpretations. So you can never assume what they see and hear during your presentation. Your job as the presenter is to communicate your message as clearly as possible. For this reason, when you describe a chart, the most important thing you need to do is to highlight key information for the audience. In other words, tell your audience clearly what you want them to see in the chart. For example, let's say you want to show this graph to the audience. By using this chart, you want to show your audience that people in European countries are happier than the rest of the world. But if you don't explain that, some of your audience might be thinking, "Oh, Canadians are pretty happy. Didn't know that." No, that's not what you wanted to show them. So to help your audience see what you want them to see and make sure they get the right message, emphasize the most important information on the chart. Don't leave it up to the audience. Common mistake number two. Read out the chart. I understand it is difficult to describe a chart. So many people simply read out what's on the chart. But the audience can see the chart themselves, so you don't have to do it for them, unless that particular information is important. Instead of reading out the chart, summarize what you want them to see. Going back to the example from earlier, see the difference. Finland scored 7.77. Denmark was 7.6. Norway was 7.55. Iceland scored 7.49. 8 of the top 10 happiest countries in the world were European countries. Do you see the difference? When you just read out what's on the chart, the audience won't know what you want to tell them. When you summarize the information, they can see your interpretation of the data and your message. So don't read, summarize. Common mistake number 3 is about nonverbal communication. And it is to look at the chart. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely look at the chart when you want to direct your audience's attention to your chart. Like, please take a look at the chart at the bottom. As I explained in the last lesson, when you look at the spot, your audience will naturally follow where you're looking at. So that will help them understand your speech better. The problem is when you keep looking at the chart. I'm sure you've seen a presenter who just stares at their slides during their presentation. This chart shows the happiest countries in the world. As you can see, many European countries were ranked high. You want to build connections with your audience during your presentation. Your audience will not feel connected if you don't look at them. So once the audience knows where to look on your slide or on your poster, establish eye contact with the audience and build that connection. So the 3 common mistakes we talked about today are: not describe your chart, read out your chart, keep looking at your chart. Instead, highlight key information, summarize your chart, and make eye contact with your audience. When you follow these 3 tips, you'll be able to emphasize the message you wanted to emphasize by using the chart in the first place, while keeping your audience engaged. I hope you found the information helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. See you in the next lesson.